Russia has declared war on Ukraine, and it started with a military operation in Donbas. Many media houses are reporting blasts are being heard in the capital of Kyiv. U.S. President Joe Biden has condemned Russia's move. So let's get some details now from our U.S. correspondent, William Denselow. William, good morning to you. And of course, we see a statement there released by President Biden, obviously on Russia's decision on Ukraine. What exactly is the statement detailing from at least the U.S. President's perspective?
Well, as you might imagine, it's a very strong message from President Biden. Of course, comes after the US has released several tranches worth of sanctions, with more threats of sanctions in the coming days. That has been the message from President Biden all week. Now, in this statement released by the White House, it says Russia alone is responsible for the death and destruction that this attack will bring, and the United States and its allies and partners will respond in a united and decisive way. The world will hold Russia accountable. We have heard from Linda Thomas-Greenfield, who's the US ambassador to the UN, who very much expressed that message from President Biden at this hastily drawn together UN Security Council meeting that's just concluded less than an hour ago here in New York, where she said that President Biden reiterates at that point that the US and its allies will act strongly in condemnation with Russia. What we saw were some quite extraordinary scenes at the UN Security Council. The meeting started with a plea from the Secretary General Antonio Guterres, saying that from the bottom of his heart, his message was directly to President Putin: stop troops from attacking Ukraine, give peace a chance. Of course, as the meeting progressed, that news trickled through that Russia had engaged with that special military operation. So what we saw was then a number of Security Council members speaking off the cuff, to express their outrage at the developments ongoing.
Yeah, just for context purposes, William, I suppose, remind us again of those sanctions imposed on Russia by the US.
Absolutely. So early in the week, we saw the United States take some targeted sanctions efforts. A few of them looked at the sovereign debt of Russia. A few were targeted at some Russian state banks, as well as some entities close to the Kremlin. That, of course, is a strategy seen by some European partners as well. On Wednesday here in the US, we saw another step from the Biden administration, putting sanctions on the parent company of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. That's that $11 billion pipeline supplying Russian gas to Germany. Putting that into perspective, just how significant it is, around 27% of the energy consumed in Germany last year came from Russian gas. This, of course, comes in a week where Germany has halted the certification of that pipeline. So you can see already that concerted effort from the US and its allies to take targeted sanctioned action against Moscow, and the threat of more still to come.
Yeah, and we know that in the last piece of the statement there by President Joe Biden, he sends his prayers alongside his wife, Jill Biden, to the brave people of Ukraine, he says in the statement. Do we know at this point if he has engaged with the Ukrainian president?
Well, we know that diplomatic efforts are ongoing, of course. What we saw is that as this was escalating, as this news was breaking, the Ukrainian ambassador and the US ambassador were in the same room. They were in the Security Council chamber. What we saw occur here in New York at the UN was quite extraordinary. What we heard from was the Ukrainian ambassador calling for Russia to be stripped of the rotating presidency it currently holds in the Security Council, also saying that those engaged in Russia won't go to purgatory, that war criminals go straight to hell. There was, as you might imagine, a strong rebuttal from Russia. Russia at the UN Security Council this week has reiterated that Kyiv is the aggressor. Now, the message from Russia's ambassador to the UN was very clear. He said that Russia is not acting aggressively towards the Ukrainian people, but the junta in power.
We'll leave it there, and I appreciate your time this morning and this update. US correspondent William Denselow in New York.